Last week, we developed awareness about the labels we wear, the words we use to describe ourselves. Today, we're at week number 2, and we're going to learn a powerful tool for strengthening our connection with the truth we want to believe. Because it's nice to know that our neshama is our ultimate and only true self-definition. It's nice to know that our neshama gives us a magnificent inner light, a sense of dignity, and every kind of goodness we can imagine. It's all very nice to know, but it's hard to feel it. Why is it so hard to feel the value of our neshama? Because we don't see it. We see other stuff. We see external stuff. We see looks, clothing, accomplishments, failures. And in the courtrooms of our minds, where we decide which labels belong to us and which don't, we don't quite hear our neshama speaking up, telling us how much it matters. We hear the voices of other people and other situations and things. Their voices are louder and more believable to us because we're physical people. Whatever we can see and touch, we're automatically more connected with. What we see is what we believe, and everything else is abstract. That's how Hashem made us. Reb Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev famously said, Ribono Shel Olam, you put all of your emes, all of your truth, into a little book, and the rest of the world, wherever our eyes rest, everything hides you. Everything covers you up. If only it would be the other way around. If only it would be that wherever we look, we see your emes, we see you. And all the distractions, all your hiddenness, all of Olam Hazeh would be in a little book. If only we would see you, how different everything would be. Indeed, it would be different. But Hashem made the world this way and made us this way too, so that we would have to look beyond the curtain that hides him and choose him. And because it takes so much effort, awareness, and a conscious decision to really push past all that thick curtain and choose him, our choice is so precious. This is what Hashem wants. This is what Hashem made the world for. This is why we're here. To choose Hashem despite the hiddenness, to choose our neshama, even though it seems as if everything external matters more. Today we're going to learn a tool that empowers us to make that choice. I call this tool the happiness button. As an introduction to meeting up with the happiness button, let's compare two different scenes, two different situations. In the first one, Chani wins a prize. Her prize is a dream vacation together with her husband, all expenses paid. The trip is scheduled months in advance. Chani and her husband, of course, are both looking forward to it for all that time. A month before that trip, Chani is already starting to prepare the details, and she's even starting to pack. She has a very well-planned itinerary. She's collected pictures of all the places she plans to visit. She's talking about it to her family, to her friends, and every night she's dreaming about her trip. She's so excited. Let's compare that trip to a different scenario. In the second one, Chani's husband surprises her one day and says, Chani, we won this fantastic prize. We're going on this amazing trip. I have everything already planned and we're leaving tomorrow morning. Shows her the tickets, the destination, shares with her the details. Everything is all worked out, where they're going to stay and all the details that make their trip possible. And she's thrilled. It's a dream come true. Let's compare the first with the second scenario. In both of them, the trip is exactly the same. In both, Chani and her husband are equally thrilled. They're delighted with the trip itself. But in the first one, Chani has something very precious that she doesn't have in scenario number 2. She has other stuff exciting in number 2. But in number 1, she has something that nobody could give her. What does Chani have in the first scene that nobody could give her that she doesn't have in the second one? For all the months leading up to the trip, Chani has a very easy way to press her happiness button. She has a picture in her mind that's so pleasant and wonderful. All she has to do is think about it for 10 seconds, and suddenly she feels joy, excitement, and positive emotions. What's the science of her happiness button? Here it goes. When we see something in front of our eyes, or when something is actually happening in the present, we automatically feel it. But each of us also has feelings connected to the past and to the future. How could that be? How could something that happened 5 years ago still make me feel upset? It's not happening now. How could something that didn't yet happen make me feel so sad? It didn't even happen yet. The answer is that in our mind, we have an eye. We have the ability to visualize, to replay the past, to envision the future. And the seeing that we do in our minds has an impact on us that's just as powerful as if we're actually seeing it here and now with our physical eye. When we visualize something in our minds, our visualization automatically triggers a very powerful response in our hearts and a reaction in the rest of our bodies too. In Chani's story, for a good few months, she had something that was very easy to visualize. That was her instant happiness button. For all that time leading up to the trip, no matter what else was happening in her life that day, Chani could allow her mind to wander into her trip. She could bring up pictures of her favorite place in the world. She could see herself in that place, smiling, taking in all the goodness. And as she sees that in her mind, she feels it in her heart. And even in her toenails, her body relaxes. In the second scenario, Chani has the same wonderful trip. But since she didn't know it was coming, it didn't give her that instant happiness button. She couldn't have the pleasure of visualizing the goodness and enjoying it. She may have other visualizations that she could do. She had the ability to visualize other things, but she didn't have this one easy visualization that the trip gave her. Each of us has a happiness button. We also have a security button, a calm button, a dignity button, a worthiness button. That's the good news. The bad news is that the same button, the same action in our minds that brings us all the positive feelings, the act of visualization also gives us lots of heartache. It's also a button for misery and resentment, for weakness and disempowerment, for helplessness and being stuck. Whatever we visualize in our minds creates a response in our hearts and in our bodies. We've all had experiences with this. Let's say you have to make a phone call. You have to deliver unpleasant news to a person you care about. You're about to pick up your phone, but then, without realizing, you start imagining what's going to happen on that phone call. In your mind's eye, you picture how the conversation will develop, what you're going to say, what she's going to respond. It's not pretty. The person is quite upset about what you're telling her. Maybe she's telling you that you're mean. Maybe she's rolling her eyes or making some sarcastic comments that are hurtful. In your mind's eye, you see all of this happening. You see it clearly in full color. We see things faster than we can talk about it. It only takes 2 or 3 seconds on the clock. As you see all of the unpleasantness unfolding, suddenly you have no energy to make that phone call. Kenisht. It's not a conscious feeling of intimidation or fear. It's not a decision that suddenly pops up on you. Your whole body resists making the call, and you simply can't do it. Why? Because you visualized the unpleasantness of it. And in visualizing it, it made you schwach. And you can't make that phone call, not now. That's the power of visualizing something in our mind's eye. Here's another example. You're washing your dishes. As the water is running, so is your mind. You start thinking about something that happened that day, something very unpleasant. You got a ticket. A police officer pulled you over and you got a ticket. You replay the whole scene in your mind. You watch it play by play as if it's all happening again, here and now. You try to rewrite some of the parts. And as you do that, you could feel yourself getting all upset because really you can't rewrite it. And it hurts. It gets you upset all over again. What happened? You're in your kitchen and nothing happened. But by watching the scene in your mind's eye, it's as if it just happened all over again. Your back starts hurting. You get a headache. Again, it's not just your heart that feels upset. Your whole body is impacted. That's the power of visualization. And most of us use it in ways that we're not even aware of. We make decisions, who to speak to, when to speak, what to buy, what to wear, what to cook, where to do our shopping. We make all kinds of decisions based on visualizing what might be. And we have all kinds of feelings and all kinds of rules that we develop based on our visualizing and replaying what already was. So visualizing is very powerful. Am I talking about New Age psychology, visualization? Not at all. When Moshe Rabbeinu was taking leave of us, in Chumash Devarim, Moshe Rabbeinu gives us advice that's immeasurably precious. One of the most famous pieces of advice is in Parshas Nitzavim, Perek Lamed, where Moshe Rabbeinu says, Re'ei nasati lefonecha es hachayim v'es hatoiv, es hamaves v'es hara. Behold, see, I am placing before you life and goodness, death and the opposite of goodness. And the next psukim outline what will be the result of the goodness, what will be the result of the not good. And of course, Moshe Rabbeinu says, Uvacharta b'chayim, and choose life. And one of the psukim, in the concluding pasuk of this section, Moshe Rabbeinu actually uses the words, La'ava es Hashem, to love Hashem, ki hu chayacha, because He is your life. The Baal Tanya expounds on all of these psukim in a mimer called Smali Tachas L'Reishi. A part of this is printed in Chasidus Muvo'eres in the volume about Tefillah under the heading Hakol Kol Yaakov. I'm just putting out the source in case there's somebody here who wants to actually look it up, because what I'm saying is a tip of what's really in there. The Baal Tanya says that Moshe Rabbeinu specifically chose the word Re'eh, telling us to visualize the Chayim and the Maves in everything. What's the Chayim and the Maves? What's the Chayim and the Maves? Everything that we see, everything that we encounter has a Chayim and a Maves. The Chayim is the part that's called life. The Maves is the part that's called death. The Maves is the physical dimension. It's called Maves because everything physical has an expiration date. At one point or another, it will end, it will expire. The spiritual dimension is called Chayim, and it's called Chayim because its life never ends. It lasts forever. It's truly alive. These two layers of reality exist in every single thing that we might see. But we see it most profoundly in our own selves, in the difference between our bodies and our souls. Our neshama is our chayim, our life. It's here now. It will be here forever. It's the only part of us that has true life. Compared to our neshama, everything else about us is completely irrelevant. Body and soul are so different in value. They're not like the difference between night and day. When it comes to value, they're as different as the difference between dead and alive. The Baal Tanya continues and says, this is why Moshe Rabbeinu specifically used the word re'eh, because Moshe Rabbeinu could have said all of the exact same thing without the word re'eh. I placed before you this and this, and choose life. Moshe Rabbeinu is urging us to see it. Visualize the Chayim and the Maves in everything you encounter, in everything you see. Visualize the Chayim and the Maves in you, because by visualizing it, that's how you're going to be able to develop a love for Hashem, a value for your neshama, and that's the only way how you'll be empowered, will be empowered to choose life, to choose our neshama, to choose Hashem over the Maves, over what we would otherwise see as the only reality. And when the Baal Tanya teaches this, I'm going to quote one line that's very powerful. Kasher yistakel be'ein sichloi bere'iyah chushes, ki hu chayecha mamish, shehu mekar v'chaye hachayim. A person should visualize in his mind's eye with a real sensory seeing that he, Hashem, is literally your life. Ki hu chayecha mamish. That He is the source and the life of all life. Not only is Hashem our life, but He is the source of all life. So the idea of visualizing what we want to be connected with is not New Age psychology. It's Moshe Rabbeinu's advice to us. Re'eh, see it, visualize it. As you look around the world, see beyond the outer layers. See that there's also a Chayim and that there's a Maves. See the life of it. And as you look at yourself, see that Hashem is Hu Chayecha Mamish. He's your life. He is the source and the life of all life. To put it in context of the truth we're trying to hold on to, the labels that we wear, if we visualize that Hashem is our real life, that our neshama is true, this gives a strong connection with the truth we want to believe. Now, Hashem doesn't have any form, chas v'shalom, and we are not supposed to visualize Hashem himself. So what exactly might we visualize? Ner Hashem nishmas Adam. The soul of man is the candle of Hashem, right? The Torah, Chazal, gives us a visual of a light. So I'm going to share my own thoughts about what exactly to visualize, because so many people always ask, what exactly should I visualize? And I'm making the distinction between my own understanding of how to visualize and the Baal HaTanya's advice, because the advice itself can be implemented in so many different ways. So if what I'm going to say doesn't resonate with you, try a different visualization practice. Some of you might think that visualizing is awkward. It's strange. It's different. I'm a normal person. I don't do this kind of weird stuff. Visualizing. It's not my type. Here's the real truth. You do visualize. Everyone does. If you ever felt upset and hurt by something that happened in the past, it's because you visualized it happening now. If you ever got excited or sad, or you felt pain about something that didn't even happen yet, you visualized it. You envisioned it, or you replayed it in your mind. That's visualizing is the only physical action that causes emotions other than something happening immediately here and now. So everyone visualizes things. We do it all the time. The only difference is some people do this without being aware of it. But now we're all aware of it. So we may as well use this strength to our advantage. We get so much heartache from visualizing, from replaying unpleasant stuff. We may as well benefit from visualizing and from connecting with the truth that can transform our lives and take us to such beautiful places. We may as well use it to develop a solid bond, a pulsating connection with the truth about our Chaim. We want our awareness about our neshama to be absorbed in our hearts, so that as we go through our day, we'll be strengthened and supported by it. We can't change other people. We can't change many situations, but we can always change what we believe about ourselves, how we carry ourselves, how we feel, what we say, and what we do. We can always choose life. To do that, to choose life, Moshe Rabbeinu's advice, re'eh, see it, is necessary. How do we know that it's necessary? Because if Moshe Rabbeinu says it, it's necessary. If we wouldn't be necessary, he wouldn't say it. We cannot create the emotional bond that we want without it. Now, the challenge of visualizing is being able to focus. Our minds wander. If we do an action that comes with visualizing, it helps to focus. So here's one way to visualize. You can do this anytime you're feeling disconnected from your true self-definition, or you can do this proactively several times throughout the day, or at least once a day. The action that we'll do to help us concentrate is slow, deep breathing. We're going to breathe in deeply through our nose. That's the real way to take in a deep breath, all the way in for 5 seconds. A deep breath that fills up your stomach, and then breathe out through your mouth for another 5 seconds. So let's do this. I'm sitting here. My 4-year-old daughter is sitting next to me, and she's smiling and making funny faces because we do this together. So you can do this yourself. Once you know how to do this, you can do this with your children. It really is helpful, even for young children. The Torah, re'eh, belongs to everyone. Breathe in through your nose, a deep breath that fills up your stomach, and then out through your mouth. Each time while you're breathing in, visualize something that you know about your neshama. Think about it. Imagine what it looks like in real color. That's while you're breathing in. And while you're breathing out, let yourself relax into the goodness and be with it. Let's take our first deep breath. Breathe in. Visualize a stream of glorious, radiant light entering you. Vayipach ba'apav nishmas chayim. Your neshama is entering your body, filling up your entire being, from your nose, your heart, to your stomach, all the way down to your toes. We could wiggle our toes to feel it. And now, as we're breathing out, let yourself feel that light. I'm here in that wondrous Luchtigkeit. Hashem is giving me my life. Let's try it again. Breathe in a deep breath. Picture a strong, secure light circling around you, embracing you, holding you up. And as you breathe out, lean on that strength. Relax into that deep, awesome light that's there for you. Hashem is holding you up. And let's do it one more time. Breathe in a deep breath and a different visualization, different thing to visualize. Visualize a certificate being handed to you. It's made out of gold. It's framed with real pearls. Engraved in the center of the certificate are two words. It says, my Chani, or my Suri, my Bela. Fill in your own name. Netzer mata'ai ma'aseh yadai lehispa'er. We are designed, defined, empowered by Hashem, and He takes personal pride in us. Underneath your name, it says, go live. Go make this a beautiful moment. And it's signed by Hashem. That was a long breath, but it takes longer for me to say it than for us to think it. So now that I've said it, let's take another breath for 5 seconds. Visualize that gold and diamond certificate. It's a document that certifies your dignity. Hashem says, you're my girl, my daughter, my beloved. And as you let out your breath, be in that place. Feel the connection. Take in the love. Feel your dignity. We just took 3 deep breaths, and that's our 30 seconds. Again, it took us longer to talk about it, but really it takes 30 seconds to do it in real time. When you're done, notice how you feel. Notice that you're connected with your neshama, not just in your head. You feel it in your heart. You feel it in your fingers, in your toes, in your shoulders. And now you can look back at the same situation you were dealing with, and you have pressed your connection button, your happiness, strength, and dignity button. And if you really visualize your neshama as your life force, you have renewed life. You have renewed strength and renewed dignity that you can bring to whatever situation you're dealing with. My father often tells a story that he heard from the Chassid Reb Moshe Rubin, alav hashalom. It's the story of a rich man who was a terrible miser. One beautiful day, the miser's daughter became a kala. In those days, the entire town would celebrate every chasana together. And of course, since the kala's father was a rich man, everybody could expect a lavish feast to be served in honor of the occasion. The man didn't know what to do. Es wollte ihm nicht gepasst. It wouldn't fit to make a simple wedding with herring and challah. He had to prepare a feast according to the standards of the wealthy man that he was. He had to prepare the tastiest fish, the finest meat, the most exotic wines. Of course, he had plenty of money for all of that. He had no problem buying it, but he was a miser. It was painful for him to think about sharing all that food with the whole town. After much thought, the miser came up with a plan that he told no one except his most trusted servant. A week before the chasana, the rich man went to the market and shouted his orders to each of the vendors in the marketplace. Please make sure to order the biggest and best fish, enough to feed the entire town. Get me the finest cuts of meat. Yes, all of them. Let there be plenty of the best food anyone ever tasted. All the townspeople could see that the rich man was preparing a feast fit for the most amazing chasana ever. Nobody knew his plan. What was the rich man's plan? During the chuppah, his servant would run over to him and shout, "Robbers! Robbers have come and taken away all the food that you prepared. It's all gone. There's nothing left." This would, of course, be nothing more than an act. It would be the miser's way out. It would be his way of saving he'd be able to protect his dignity, make a good impression on the whole town, while at the same time he wouldn't have to share any of it. And after all the people would leave, he'd go home and share the food with just his family. The week of the wedding came. Everyone in the town was talking about the upcoming wedding. Everyone saw the rich man placing his orders with all the vendors in the marketplace. He made sure to come back a few different times at different times of the day. Everybody who didn't hear him making those orders was talking about it. Everyone was expecting the most elegant, abundant, lavish meal the town had ever seen. The chuppah came. The day of the chuppah came, and finally the chuppah itself. While the young couple was standing under the chuppah, people suddenly heard a loud commotion from the distance. And then that sound came closer, and they turned around and they saw the rich man's servant running towards the chuppah, sweat pouring down his face. Oi, oi! He was crying as he approached his boss, the rich man, the miser. Robbers have come. The entire wedding feast is gone. They took everything. The servant's story had been part of the plan, but something about the way the servant was telling it made the rich man a little bit nervous, because the servant was not that great of an actor. What? He cried. Are you serious? Yes, said the servant. It really did happen. I'm not kidding. This is not a joke. They just came and ran off with all the food. For real? The rich man's voice was trembling. For real? The servant answered. Oi, said the rich man. Then he bent down to whisper in the servant's ear. You're doing a great job, acting upset. I'm starting to believe you. Please tell me that you're kidding, just between us. Make me a simon, whisper to me. Tell me that you're kidding, and then you could go on and keep putting on your fantastic act. The servant stood up tall, looked into his boss's eyes. Yes, what I'm saying sounds like the story we made up, but it's not. It's real. Robbers really came. The miser asked him a few more times if he was serious and if his story really happened as he said it did. And he kept saying, yes, it's true, it really happened. And suddenly the miser said, Oi, it really happened. And he fainted. When my father finishes telling the story, he asks us a question. Did you ever wonder why, after saying Shema, we say Emes, V'yatziv, V'nochain, V'kayam, V'yasher? True, and again true. It's real, and again real. Truly real. Hashem is true. We know it. Isn't it enough to say it once? Why do we repeat ourselves so many times? And the answer is because Hashem is hidden. And our Yetzer Hara is like the rich man. He's very stingy. He hijacks our mind. He makes it seem as if Hashem and our neshama is just an abstract idea. And when we want to daven, he doesn't want to give us his time. He doesn't want to let us daven. So it says, okay, I have a plan. You go ahead and prepare to daven. It's going to look like you're ready to connect with Hashem. It will look like you're taking your neshama seriously. It's going to look like you want your neshama to really matter, that this is your true self-definition, but it won't be real. We're just going to pretend. Really, between me and you, we know the truth. You're nothing special. You're just an ordinary human being. You're limited. If someone says something hurtful, you're going to be hurt. If you're in a bad situation, you're going to feel bad. If you're feeling stuck, you're going to be stuck. And you're going to be stuck until something changes and someone takes you out. So all this talk about being special because you have a neshama, no problem. I'll agree to pretend. With that plan, our Yetzer Hara allows us to start davening. So we start davening. By the time we get to Shema, we're feeling a real connection, because all that stuff we do is also visualizing. We're thinking about who Hashem is and remembering who we are in the picture of things. We know what our life is about. Our Yetzer Hara gets nervous and says, you're kidding, right? And we say, no, this is emes. Hashem is real. Our Yetzer Hara panics. He doesn't want to believe it. Seriously? Is this part of the act? And we say, V'yatziv. This is no joke. Hashem is real. On and on we go. Emes, V'yatziv, V'nochain, V'kayam, V'yashar, V'neman. We believe it. It's true. We're connecting. We're reconnecting. We're coming back to it again. And what happened when the rich man finally understood that the servant was telling the truth? He fainted. That's the sign. That's how you know if you really absorb the fact that Hashem is real, if you faint. Of course, Your body should please not faint when you daven. The Yetzer Hara will faint, or when you visualize. The Yetzer Hara will faint. Your collection of ugly labels, your old rule about how you get those labels, will faint. It will become weak. It has to. In that moment, when we recognize that Hashem's presence in the world is real, our denial of his presence will faint. All those negative, disempowering words about ourselves that we used to think are true, they'll start flying out the window, one by one. How does that work? Because there's a rule about darkness and light. This rule also applies to our thoughts and beliefs. If you're thinking something negative, if you have a disempowering label in your mind, you can't get rid of it by telling it to go. When you say, I shouldn't be thinking that, you're still thinking it. It doesn't help. If anything, it makes you think about it more. The only thing that helps is gently turning your mind to the emes that you want to live by. 1,000,000 sticks can't chase away even 1 inch of darkness, but the tiniest bit of light changes all the darkness. We're very connected to our darkness. We're connected to our disempowering labels, to the rule that says our self-definition depends on people and situations in our lives. We can't chase away the labels or the rules just by telling ourselves that we shouldn't feel that way or we shouldn't think this way. What we could do is we could bring on the light. We could visualize the emes. And we need to do it again and again. Emes, v'yatzev, v'nachain, v'kai. And when we do that, all of our disempowering labels will faint. They will fly away in the breeze. The secret of changing our labels, the secret of nurturing a positive self-image and the goodness that comes with it, the secret of living by the truth that you want to believe is to connect and reconnect with the truth we want to live by. Right this minute, and every minute, Hashem is literally investing a part of himself within us. Ki hu chayecha mamish, shahu mikar v'chayei hachayim. He's the life of all life. Take 30 seconds every day to visualize it. Let's see our awesome label. Let's own it. Let's live it. Let's be it. Let's let this wondrous light, Hashem's light, shine forth in everything we do, wherever we are. And as we strengthen our connection with our true self, we automatically weaken our attachment to other labels that never really belonged to us in the first place. I want to wish you again a wonderful, energizing week and hatzlacha in visualizing again, connecting and reconnecting with the emes we want to live by.